The birthday cake sat untouched, its 17 candles flickering in the empty ballroom, like tiny beacons of hope that no one was coming to see. Emma Richardson sat perfectly still in her wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap, watching the wax slowly drip down each candle, while the hired DJ played upbeat music to a room full of empty chairs. She had stopped crying an hour ago. Now she just felt numb. Her father, Marcus Richardson, CEO of Richardson Technologies, had promised this year would be different. He'd rented the entire top floor of the Grandview Hotel, hired the best caterers in the city, sent embossed invitations to every girl in Emma's grade. He'd even cancelled 2 board meetings, which for Marcus was the equivalent of moving mountains. But as Emma sat there, surrounded by untouched platters of food and elaborate decorations that suddenly seemed to mock her solitude, she realized that money couldn't buy the one thing she wanted most: people who actually wanted to be there. The accident had happened 3 years ago, a split second that divided Emma's life into before and after. Before, she'd been a sophomore cheerleader with a calendar full of parties and sleepovers. After, she was the girl in the wheelchair, the one whose former friends sent sympathy cards but stopped calling, who got invited to things out of pity but never really included. Her father had thrown money at the problem, buying her the best wheelchair, converting their home into an accessibility masterpiece, hiring tutors and therapists. But he couldn't buy her back the casual friendships, the whispered secrets, the feeling of belonging. Emma glanced at her phone one more time. No new messages. The handful of girls who'd responded, maybe, to the invitation had all found last-minute excuses. She knew why. Madison Turner was having a pool party the same night, and between the girl in the wheelchair and the girl with an Olympic-sized pool, there was no competition. "Miss Emma?" The event coordinator approached tentatively, her professional smile strained. "Should we perhaps cut the cake now?" Emma looked at the 3-tiered masterpiece, each layer more elaborate than the last. "Sure," she said quietly. "Why not?" She was wheeling herself toward the cake table when the ballroom doors opened. Emma's heart leaped. Maybe someone had come after all, but it was just a man and a little girl, both looking confused and slightly overwhelmed. They clearly weren't dressed for a party. The man wore jeans and a faded jacket, and the girl, who couldn't have been more than 6, clutched a stuffed elephant that had seen better days. "I'm so sorry," the man said, starting to back out. "Wrong room. We were looking for the community event downstairs." Emma should have just nodded and let them go. But something in the little girl's wide eyes, the way she was staring at the cake with such wonder, made Emma speak up. "Wait," Emma heard herself say. The man paused. "Are you hungry?" The man looked uncomfortable. "We don't want to intrude. This is clearly a private—" "Please," Emma said, and her voice cracked slightly. "There's so much food, and it's just going to waste. I'd really like it if you stayed." The little girl tugged on her father's hand. "Daddy, can we? Look at that cake." The man studied Emma's face, and she saw the moment he understood. The empty room, the full tables, the lonely girl in the wheelchair. His expression softened. "Are you sure?" Emma nodded, surprised to find tears stinging her eyes. "I'm sure. It's my birthday, and I could use some company." "Well then," the man said, walking in and extending his hand. "Happy birthday. I'm Jake Morrison, and this is my daughter Lily." "Emma Richardson," she replied, shaking his hand. Lily bounded over, all 6-year-old energy and enthusiasm. 17 candles! That's so many! Are you going to make a wish?" "I already made it," Emma said, smiling for the first time that evening. "And I think it might be coming true." What followed was the strangest and somehow most wonderful birthday party Emma had ever had. Jake turned out to be a contractor who'd been laid off 6 months ago and was barely making ends meet with odd jobs. He'd brought Lily to the hotel for a free community dinner hosted by a local charity, but they'd gotten the floor wrong. Lily was chattering away about her kindergarten class, her stuffed elephant Mr. Trunks, and her absolute certainty that unicorns were real, while Jake apologized repeatedly for his daughter's energy. "Don't apologize," Emma said, watching Lily explore the room with delight. "This is exactly what a birthday party should sound like. They'd just cut the cake when the ballroom doors burst open again. This time it was Marcus Richardson, arriving late as always, his phone still pressed to his ear. He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Jake and Lily, his CEO instincts immediately noting that something was off. "Emma?" he said, pocketing his phone. "Who are these people?" Emma felt Jake tense beside her. She could see her father's security training kicking in, the way his eyes assessed Jake's worn clothes and scuffed boots. "Dad, this is Jake and Lily Morrison. They're my friends. I invited them to my party." Marcus's expression was unreadable. "Your friends?" "Yes," Emma said firmly. "My friends. The only ones who showed up." The words hung in the air, and Emma saw her father flinch as if she'd struck him. He looked around the empty ballroom, really seeing it for the first time. The vacant chairs, the untouched food, his daughter sitting with strangers because no one else had come. Something shifted in Marcus Richardson's face. Emma had seen her father negotiate billion-dollar deals without blinking, had watched him command boardrooms with absolute authority. But standing there in that empty party room, he looked smaller somehow and utterly lost. "I'm sorry, sir," Jake said, standing up. "We didn't mean to crash your daughter's party." "We'll go." "No," Marcus said, his voice rough. "Please stay." He walked over to the table and sat down, looking at his daughter with an expression she'd rarely seen on his face: vulnerability. "I'm the one who should apologize. Emma, I thought if I threw you the biggest party, invited everyone, made it impossible to ignore, that everything would go back to how it was. But I was wrong." "Dad, let me finish." Marcus took a shaky breath. "I've been so busy trying to fix what happened with money and grand gestures that I forgot to just be there. I forgot that what you needed wasn't the biggest party or the fanciest wheelchair. You needed people who saw you, not your chair. People who showed up because they wanted to, not because they were obligated to." Emma felt tears streaming down her face. "I just wanted to feel normal again." "I know, sweetheart." Marcus reached for her hand. "And I failed you. I'm so sorry." Lily, who had been watching this exchange with wide eyes, walked over to Emma and climbed into her lap without hesitation. "Don't be sad," she said, patting Emma's cheek with sticky cake fingers. "It's your birthday, and birthdays are for being happy. Right, Daddy?" Jake smiled, his own eyes suspiciously bright. "Right, Princess." "You know what?" Marcus said suddenly. "Jake, you said you're a contractor." Jake nodded warily. "Yes, sir, but I'm between jobs right now. My company is building a new accessible community center across town. The project manager quit last week and we're way behind schedule. It's a 6-month contract with benefits, and if you do well, it could lead to something permanent. Interested?" Jake's mouth fell open. Yes, absolutely, but sir, you don't have to." "I'm not doing this out of pity," Marcus interrupted. "I'm doing it because anyone who would walk into a stranger's birthday party and make my daughter smile like that is someone I want on my team. And because my daughter's right, you're her friends. The real kind." Emma couldn't stop smiling through her tears. "Dad, what are you doing?" Marcus looked at his daughter, really looked at her, maybe for the first time since the accident. "I'm learning." Emma, learning that the most valuable things in life can't be bought or scheduled or controlled. They just happen if you're open to them. The four of them sat together at that table for hours, eating cake and talking. Lily told elaborate stories about Mr. Trunks's adventures. Jake shared contractor horror stories that made everyone laugh. And Marcus, to Emma's amazement, turned off his phone completely. They played the silly party games Emma had planned for a crowd that never came, and with just the four of them, they were more fun than any elaborate party could have been. As the evening wound down and Jake and Lily prepared to leave, Emma wheeled over to them. "Thank you," she said, "for stopping, for staying, for making this the best birthday I've had in years." Lily hugged her tight. "Will we see you again? Can we be real friends?" Emma looked at her father, who nodded. "I'd like that very much." Over the following months, the strangest and most beautiful friendship bloomed. Jake started his new job, and Lily became a regular fixture in Emma's life, visiting after school, doing homework together, treating Emma's wheelchair like it was just another piece of furniture, completely unremarkable. Through Lily's innocent eyes, Emma began to see herself differently, not as the disabled girl everyone pitied, but as Lily's big sister Emma, who gave the best advice and told the coolest stories. Marcus, too, was changing. He started leaving work early to have dinner with Emma, actually listening when she talked, being present instead of just providing. He and Jake developed an unlikely friendship. The CEO and the contractor, both single fathers trying their best and failing sometimes but showing up anyway. On Emma's 18th birthday, she insisted on a small celebration, just the four of them and a few of the genuine friends she'd made over the past year, people who saw her for who she was. They met at the same hotel, but this time in a small private room, not a cavernous ballroom. The cake was simple, the decorations minimal, and Emma had never been happier. "Make a wish," Lily said, now 7 and missing her 2 front teeth. Emma looked around at the people gathered there, her father finally present, Jake, who'd become like an uncle to her, Lily, who'd taught her that love doesn't see limitations, and the handful of friends who'd proven that quality mattered more than quantity. "I don't need to," Emma said. "Everything I wished for is already here." As she blew out the candles, Emma thought back to that lonely girl sitting in an empty ballroom a year ago. She'd thought that night was her lowest point, but it had actually been the beginning of everything, because sometimes the best moments in life start with the worst ones. Sometimes it takes sitting alone at your birthday cake to learn what friendship really means. And sometimes the greatest gift comes not from the people you invited, but from the ones who chose, of their own free will, to join you anyway.